Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of GeekVerse Podcast. I am your host, Taylor Field. And today I am here for a late night review of the Borderlands movie. This is a highly anticipated, requested review, some might say. But I'm alone. No one else wanted to take the time of day to see this movie, and I will elaborate as to why maybe I should have joined them in their footsteps. Maybe not. Am I glad I saw this movie? We're going to find out when we get into spoilers. But until then, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook. Be sure to check us out on our Patreon where you can get ad-free, early, exclusive episodes and content there. It's a great place to be, great place to hang out. Want to shout out and thank everyone that joined us for our 9-year anniversary stream event. It was great. We did trivia, we did geek verses, we did a whole bunch of things. It was a good time. All that content will be available in podcast form, and it is available on our YouTube currently. Also, the wrestling match. So lots of fun stuff to check out. And if you are a Patreon producer, then I'm going to shout you out here: Aaron Braden, April of Darkness, Jack Grant, Muds, Sam, and God Loves Me 69. You guys are fantastic. You guys are just absolutely amazing people. So thank you very much. Now, I think as far as content that is coming up, I'm going to show the Alien Romulus review that's coming. What else do we got? There's newscasts, lots of stuff. We got D23 dropping this weekend. We'll be covering that. A lot of cool things are going to be populating from there. But other than that, I think, yeah, it's going to be a good time. So I'm going to get into the non-spoilers first, and then I'm going to branch off into the spoilers portion of this movie review. To start it off, ooh, I don't want to say that my excitement was kind of sullied a little bit. Uh, I feel like seeing all the negativity around it and the zeros and whatnot, it definitely made me apprehensive going into this theater. Now, it was a very nice theater, the reclining seats and everything like that, so that was great. But I was trying to be very unbiased, very neutral going into this. Uh, there are a few things with the music that just didn't necessarily stand out. There are a couple songs that I really, really like, and it felt Borderlandsy, so I like that they picked those songs and threw them in. That was really cool. But my experience personally with when it comes to Borderlands is I played a little bit of one, didn't play any three, didn't play any pre-sequel, no Tina's Wonderland, and Borderlands 2, I played the living daylights out of that game. Oh my gosh. Me and my friends would be playing it non-stop. I can't remember how many times I've beaten that campaign. It was just the bee's knees. I love that game so much. It was so much fun. Um, that's kind of what really introduced me to the characters, because I know in the first one you're obviously playing as Roland and Lilith and the other characters, and you get to know Claptrap and so forth. But when you go into Borderlands 2, those characters become NPCs that you're interacting with, and I think that's just a great way to kind of keep them incorporated into the story. And Claptrap was just he's always a good time being one of the main characters in those games narratives. So that's kind of where my knowledge is limited. And I think that helps because going into this movie, I don't have that pre existing kind of stance on perspective of what to expect and what my expectations are and what to look for. There's a lot of Easter eggs that kind of go over my head. And that is unfortunate because maybe I don't get to appreciate it as much. So that can be a con, but I see it as more of a positive, and I think that it makes me able to enjoy this a little bit more than the majority of people will. There were people that were laughing in my theater, and I'm happy to see that. They're mostly laughing at Claptrap jokes, which is great. I think Jack Black did a good job voicing Claptrap. Actually, really, really sounded pretty spot on. Actually, I like his character from the game, so I can definitely appreciate that. But there's a lot of things. While I said that I'm not familiar with the backstory of a lot of these characters, there are things that I think, okay, maybe they changed. Okay, they're adding a little bit more in here in regards to backstory and just kind of character arcs that I think people may not like. They may be upset about, and I get that it's a video game movie, and video game movies have that trouble of changing the narrative, changing the lore, the history, all that kind of stuff. So I can understand people's frustration when it comes to these characters, and these characters are very much really loved by the community and the fandom. So I don't blame them. If I had to, again, maybe at some point rank all these video game movies, I think I know where I would put this on that list. I have some that are really, really high and then others that are low, but I think I could place this probably somewhere in the middle to lower because it definitely is not devoid of its problems. One thing in particular that bothers me when you see this in movies is when you have a character talking and they're trying to build up the stakes here in this brief scene and something really happens. It's tense, but within literally within 4 seconds, you have the scene set up, a a major like oh my god moment, and then it's resolved, and then it cuts to the next scene within a 4 to 5 seconds. And I don't like when movies do that. It really, really pulls you out of it, and it just, to me, it feels like, okay, that's the kind of movie we have. That's the kind of movie that they were trying to do. It feels rushed, and you're just gonna get consistent more scenes like that throughout the whole film, and I don't like that. It's very unfortunate, but I digress. I'm trying to think what else I can kind of cover here without spoiling it. It was cool to see familiar faces. Again, like I said, there's lots of stuff in here that a fan is going to be able to latch onto, and there's going to be a lot of things that they're going to not be able to appreciate because it's just changing the story a little bit. And I don't have any grievances with that because Assassin's Creed is a similar kind of position where they changed a lot of stuff with that movie and kind of drifted from the idea of the games and what the characters are. And you try to create your own thing. Big positive though is this movie had great set pieces. Holy smokes. I thought that everything looked really, really fun, looked really, really in touch with that world of being on Pandora. I really, really appreciate the attention to detail that they incorporated. The character costumes though, some of it just felt like it was a little overly cosplay-y, little bit. Just not that there's anything wrong with that, and maybe it's just the aesthetic of this world that just kind of feels that way, because I obviously it's the way the tone and the saturation is in the games. It has that vibe, and so when you're creating that in real life, it definitely comes off as being uh cosplay like, I guess. So I can't really dock it points for that, but it is just the way that I kind of interpret it. Again, though, the whole scenery of everything, the action was really, really fun. Really enjoyed that, and I think that the actors and actresses had a lot of fun. At least that's the energy that I could pick up from this. There are some moments, obviously, where I feel like, okay, they're just trying to get through this scene and just move on with their life. But there was a lot of other sequences that I'm not saying like they're giving it their all, like they're getting uh like this is the $1 billion role here or anything like that, but I could feel like it wasn't totally devoid of effort. There wasn't a lot of passion, but it was not devoid of effort. They were trying to really like get into that role, and I think that all the characters definitely jived well with each other on screen. I think Kevin Hart was fun, and Jamie Lee Curtis was interesting, and Kate's character as well. I think she did a really good job as Lilith. I actually really liked her. So would I see it again? Oh, I don't know. That would be a tough one for me to say right now. I'm gonna have to get into the spoilers and then come to a decision at the end of this review on whether or not I would see it again. So I'm gonna jump to a quick ad break right now. And here's the bee's knees. If you are on Patreon, well, you get to skip this. So we'll be right back. And we are back. So the story here, and this is the story that again I'm thinking Hunter Iggy in the chat, just me representing Geekverse. So shout outs to you, my friend. Uh, let's see now. The narrative is very different from what I am familiar with Borderlands. Borderlands is just filled with vault hunters, and obviously there's a little bit more in-depth narratives here. And while I'm familiar with Borderlands 2 is Handsome Jack, and you're just trying to deal with the Hyperion Corporation, and just got a bazillion guns. The guns factor was not really represented much in this movie, and I feel kind of bummed out about that. We have uh, Roland, who's got his signature gun, and then we got Lilith, who's got her two guns. And that was pretty much it. I would have loved to have seen a whole array. Give me the bazillion guns where they're pulling guns out of everything and everywhere and just using them and just having fun. That would have been great. Characters were using guns, but it didn't feel unique. It didn't feel like it had that Borderlands vibe of a bazillion guns. I mean, you have all these weapons manufacturers like Atlas and Hyperion and so forth. And so it was just, I feel like that was something that was lacking. But again, the attention to detail was really, really fun. It was really, really cool. So I can appreciate it, but also I can be upset about it at the same time. But the story here goes that we have Pandora being a great, luscious planet, and then we have basically iridium technology that is left behind by that ancient alien race that humanity has been trying to acquire more of. And Pandora has these vaults that, well, specifically a one vault on this planet that is highly sought after. All the vault hunters are here to get it. So they're on the planet trying to get their way, and it's just turned into chaos and destruction. The planet has just been obliterated, essentially, turned into a wasteland. And so you have Lilith, who is a bounty hunter. And this is where I don't know much about her history. I just know from Borderlands, okay, there's usually 6 sirens in existence at any given time. Usually they're all drawn to Pandora. And from my knowledge, I've seen maybe 3, but I know for sure 2. Obviously, there's Lilith, and then there's the one you play as in Borderlands 2. So those are the only ones I'm familiar with, and excuse my lack thereof Borderlands lore knowledge. So Lilith gets basically a whole backstory arc in this movie. It's basically her, like they call it Borderlands, but they should just call it Lilith, the Borderlands saga or something like that, because this is essentially her movie. Well, it starts off with Tina and Roland breaking Tina out. I didn't know a lot about Tina's history, so I can't speak to this being accurate, but we learn, okay, that this character who, like, Atlas is a real corporation in the game, but the character that leads Atlas here, I'm not sure if he is actually a real Borderlands character or not, but he's claiming to be Tina's father. But really, Tina was created in a lab with the DNA from the species of the iridium species. And so she was to open up a vault because there's this whole concept that they come with. Okay, there's the one vault with all the iridium technology on Pandora, and it's going to be a daughter of iridium that's going to open it up. And so they were trying to create a descendant, a female iridium child. And when they did that, but we learn, okay, she's not actually the one to do it. And all in all, after everything's said and done, you learn that Lilith is the one that's going to actually open this vault and send us on our way through this narrative. And that's something I kind of expected, I guess, because I didn't know or think that there was anything super special with Tina based on my experience with the character. I know Lilith was a siren going into this, and maybe that's what they were banking on because most of the audience who hasn't played the game is going to go see this and not pick up on that, so they're going to think, oh, well, Lilith is just a regular person. But no, Lilith has these powers and is able to teleport and fly and do all these things because she's a siren, and so she's able to tap into this superpower, and that's exactly what happens. I for a second thought that maybe they were just going to scrap all that and they weren't going to incorporate it because 90% of the movie is her without her powers, and you get the last 10%, which is the final fight where she's just going to town and she's insta powerful. She's Captain Marvel tier within seconds, where she's just using everything, which is kind of funny. But you get scenes with her mother, which I don't know if it's her biological mother. You get scenes with her and Tannis. Now, Tannis is a Borderlands character, but we learn that Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays her, is kind of the character who took in Lilith and was to raise her, but just kind of discarded her. And so Lilith was raised by other bandits, pirates, and whatnot, and became a bounty hunter in the wake of that. Uh, so there's a lot of things here that, again, I'm not sure if that is the official lore, but to me, it feels like they're kind of creating their own thing. I'm pretty sure Tennis is a lot younger in the games, and so this Tennis is an older interpretation, and she's obsessed with this one vault that they're trying to get into on Pandora. What else do we have here? We talked about Atlas. Yeah, Patricia Tennis. And I guess she's in, yeah, all of the, yeah, Borderlands 3 as well. Children of the Vault, the new Vault Hunters. So she's appeared quite a bit, actually. So that's kind of interesting. And then we had Moxie appear as well. So that was pretty cool to see her. I wasn't expecting that, but I was definitely super, super stoked to see that being an iconic character return with her bar and everything. That was a lot of fun, talking to the Atlas. Lance of Atlas, or Crimson Lance, I think what they're called, the Atlas soldiers, just dealing with them. So there was some other fun characters or actors that popped in here that I wasn't expecting. And so we also got Krieg. Krieg is someone that came along. He was DLC in Borderlands 2, I believe. Yeah, because I remember playing as him, and he was a lot of fun. Just a psycho that you get to indulge and play with. And so I think they did Krieg really, really well. His dialogue was really, really funny. It's always funny in the games and whatnot. But this is where they rushed some things because at the very start, when you have Roland breaking Tina out of her vault, all of a sudden the psycho door bursts off the vault and Krieg walks out and is just talking mumbo jumbo and attacks a few Crimson Lance agents and then just agrees to help Roland and Tina. That's that. And we continued on. And that's how it kind of feels throughout this film because we get obviously Lilith, who's trying to capture Tina, bring Tina back to Atlas before she turns over to the good side. Roland shows up, points the gun at Lilith after they had just fought off a bunch of Crimson Lance soldiers. And it's just weird because Lilith says a few pieces of dialogue like, hey, what happened back there? I'm on the wanted posters now, too. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And so Roland just drops his gun and says, okay, we're all on the same team now. It's like, what? Really? This woman is a bounty hunter? She was just here to take away your, like, I don't want to call her an asset, but like you're like Tina, the girl you're protecting, and you're just willing to just turn your back towards her now and trust her. Like, I don't know. It was just very forgiving, and that's just one of the things that really progressed this forward. Lilith also being a siren and having the ability to detect all of a sudden where one of the key pieces to open the vault is they got past all of these psychos and then they were in this huge storage warehouse and just there's a key that they're looking for in thousands of boxes, Indiana Jones warehouse style. And Lilith just all of a sudden senses it. It's like, hey guys, I found it. Again, it's just another one of those things that I feel like that they just rushed and they just wanted to get through it and throw this in here, plot device, and here we go, continuing on our merry way. It was unfortunate that they did that. Uh, I wish that they took their time because it's not. I don't want to say that it's not got any soul. It doesn't have any passion. But it feels like they did things just because they knew they needed to tie it into what the fandom likes and what the fandom is familiar with. So just because you incorporate these characters and you can make a familiar setting and set the stage and the the whole sequence, the whole movie basically being Borderlands, like it doesn't mean that it's going to capture the support of that fandom when you start speeding along because you got to have a good story. You got to have good writing for these characters. And so just because you have these cosmetically looking characters from the game in there, it's not going to do you justice. It's not good enough. You have to make sure that you're writing them well. You have to make sure that they're delivering on all fronts as well. So that's something that really does pull me out a little bit. And I wish that some of these characters were written a little bit better. I don't need them to be like top tier or anything like that. I just, it's a Borderlands movie. I understand it's going to be a little wonky. And maybe at the end of the day, coming off of Deadpool and Wolverine, that's got its hand at play here because there's a lot of jokes in here that just don't work for me. They're trying to make you laugh, and I'm really not laughing. And it's not that it's trying to break the fourth wall, but they're definitely doing certain things that are in the same limelight as Deadpool and Wolverine in terms of humor, where they're trying to be funny, but it's just not working. It just doesn't crack it for me. That being said, people were laughing in my theater, so I can respect that, and I'm glad that some people enjoyed it. But overly it was not like for the whole movie there was a lot of jokes and the laughing was not consistent, so that is unfortunate. uh but like I said, the effects were great. There was some stuff that maybe was a little bit questionable, but most of the CGI was pretty good. Practical effects were nice, and so I can really appreciate what they were trying to do in certain fronts. So the action and the choreography, really enjoyed that. But at its core, I don't feel like I'm going to be running to rewatch this movie. I might make the geeks watch it. I might make that my Golden Geeks pick for maybe worst movie, depending on what other ones we got. I have to check my movie list on Letterboxd and see. But maybe I can force the other geeks to watch this just so they can get it out of their system. But yeah, I don't really have much else to add to this review. It's a very very basic storyline where they need to get to their destination, get to the vault before the bad guys do, and we're gonna randomly come together, our ragtag team, and now we're a family, now we're a group. Oh, amazing! And that's that. And yeah, just that narrative, but rushed and expedited a little bit faster. So I'm not super happy with it. I wish that this was a little bit better. And hey, like I said, I was going in unbiased. I was trying not to let the zeros hit me hard, but I think that I can understand why this movie has some zeros. I'm not going to give it a zero today. Uh, but I don't think I'm gonna pass it. I feel like if it had just a little bit more oomph and a little bit more passion involved, then maybe I could give it something. But I think I'm gonna go a 4 out of 10 on this. I enjoyed it enough to give it that high of a rating, so there's that. But whether it's my lack there of knowledge and lore on the games that prevents me from appreciating a lot of the extra detail that they put into this, or the fact that it's my lack there of knowledge that really allows me to appreciate it to that point. I mean, it's hard to say, but yeah, 4 out of 10 is where I'm gonna stand with it. Shoutouts to Sam in the chat. We'll tune out when spoilers start. Well, lucky for you, spoilers did start, but I'm basically at the end of my review, so you can tune into the beginning. I think it's the first 8 minutes. I get into the non-spoilers. Worth spending the money in cinema. Oh, I no, no, it wasn't worth spending the money in cinema, unfortunately, and I wish it was. Uh, the only like I said before, like they do a great job at the set pieces, and they really, really did add a lot of detail to the visuals, but it's not enough to really pull me in. And again, I saw it in theaters because I wanted to review it, but uh, yeah, if I had to recommend it, that you're gonna drop like your 15 or 13 hard-earned dollars on a movie like this, I don't think so. I would honestly say go see Deadpool and Wolverine again. If you've already seen that, spend the $15 to go see that movie again because you'll walk out feeling super satisfied and enjoy it even more than you would going into seeing this. So maybe that's a very a bold statement, but that's how I feel. I'm glad I did see it though, so I could review it. But I could have easily seen myself saying, "Hey, you know what? Let's just skip over or to the Wolverine and Deadpool showing or Deadpool and Wolverine showing playing in the theater next door." So that's that. But if you're a huge Borderlands fan, and I mean, you love the franchise, then yeah, go see it. Like I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan, so of course I had to go see that movie in theaters because you're getting your favorite franchise blasted on the big screen. So I'm not going to argue with you on that. But if you are, you played a couple of the games, you're sort of an average fan, or if you have not played any of the games, I think you can put your money elsewhere and benefit more greatly from that decision. But I digress. That's it. That's all I'm gonna speak to tonight. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that my review helps you formulate a decision to whether you want to see it or not, or you're just gonna just let it blow away in the wind and be forgotten. It's up to you. But until then, I will see you in the search bar. And thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.